what are some key components, would you say, to make sure that you have a clean reset of the room?
Do something to create a bit more life and energy into the room. So that's number one. Number two, give some credibility to the speakers on stage. Number three is really state the intention of the room. Fourth thing, and probably the most important thing, is set expectation.
Do you think that leveraging keywords in our titles, in our descriptions, will impact the way that Clubhouse shows our room to people?
Yes, but not in the same way. I think keywords matter because it tells people what it's about, but currently discoverability on the platform is really reliant on who you follow.
Podcaster, Clubhouse moderator, founder of Podify, Billy Samoa Saleebey joins the show. Billy, how are you today?
Mark, thanks for having me. I'm doing great, man. I'm excited for this conversation.
Me as well. We're always interacting audio only, so it's really cool to get a chance to actually see you in person. Well, in person over the internet's here today. So it's
right. We can see each other's faces, which is quite unique, and it's nice to see your face as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So just for a little bit of context for all the listeners out there, all the after hours entrepreneurs, Billy and I met through this app called Clubhouse. And Clubhouse to me is extremely exciting. It's a great way to connect with people. Billy has amassed a very large following on Clubhouse. So I want to get right into it, Billy. That's what I'm all about. So tell me, why did you decide to download the Clubhouse app? What got you started in Clubhouse?
Yeah, great question. Well, I first heard about it on vacation from Brendan, who is a friend who I met through my podcast. And he's like, hey, are you on Clubhouse? That was it. Didn't know anything about it. It was just December 29th. A few days later, I get another email from a friend from LinkedIn. He's like, or a text. He's like, are you on Clubhouse? I'm like, God, 2 people are asking me. And then I just started hearing more and more about it. So my friend from LinkedIn sent me an invite, and then I checked it out. Within minutes, I had started my own room. I didn't know any better. And so I just started my own room, and people joined the room because I had a fair amount of connections on LinkedIn, and I quickly built a following because of people that I knew through that platform. So that's kind of the interesting backstory there.
Okay, excellent. So I love how you just dove right into it, right? Just starting a room. For me, the experience was a little bit different. I got in, I was in a couple rooms. I was like, I don't have time for this right now. And I ended up coming back to it a couple weeks later, similar experience, invited by some people that were hosting a room. And I was like, this is bananas. We're answering questions to people in real time. There's hundreds of people here in the audience. It was really crazy. So starting your first room, what was that experience like for you? Did anyone join in? What was that first room experience like for you, Bill?
Well, yeah, I mean, fortunately, I didn't know what I didn't know. That's the first thing. I didn't know like how it worked. I didn't have any fear of like, oh, should I do this? Should I not do this? Because I just didn't know. I just thought this is what you do. You start a room. So I went in, I started a room, and people joined. It wasn't a big room. There might have been 10 people there. It's been a few months, but we just had a conversation, and it was really, really fun to interact. I love LinkedIn. I spent a lot of time on LinkedIn in 2020, not so much this year because of Clubhouse. But what I found is that all the people that I had met, either through direct message or through commenting or reading their posts, or even, that I'd met because I had a Zoom meeting with them, now I could have a conversation with them in real time on Clubhouse. So the room didn't explode, didn't get that big. I don't even know if I had a title. I don't think I did. Or maybe I did actually. Maybe I put some title in. But yeah, I mean, it was a small room. It was not big. And it was more of just a conversation amongst friends.
And to me, that is a really natural place to start, because to your point, you may have developed relationships on these other social media platforms, be it YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. It hits a little bit different when you can actually speak to someone in that real time, snappy atmosphere. It's very special. And it's to me, it's the evolution of podcasting, or at least a side evolution. We could talk about that. But
I like that.
I would definitely like to hear from you, Billy, on successfully hosting rooms, because now you're hosting these huge rooms, thousands of people joining in. You've got some of the best moderators on the platform joining you. If I'm trying to host my first room and my goal is to reach new people, spread my message, what would be 3 takeaways that I can utilize to make sure I have a successful room?
Great question. I think the first thing to remember is don't compare yourself to anyone else. Only compare yourself to yourself. So if you see somebody that's got a big room and they're like, how do you do this? How do you have all these moderators and all? Like, first start with making your own friends and specifically moderator team on Clubhouse. Find people who are also wanting to be active, wanting to start rooms, and become friends with them and get to know them. Find out what their interests are. Find out what they are all about. And so building that moderator team is really, really important. And it happens because you've gone into rooms, you've gotten to know people. Don't try and become moderators with the people who've been doing it for 4 months, because let's be real about it. They're likely not going to spend the time moderating with somebody who's brand new on the platform. I want to be blunt. I'm not going to sugarcoat this for anyone listening right now. So I think find that moderator squad. So that's one. Number 2, pick rooms that inspire you. So find and create titles that are exciting for you. And think about something that, if you're going to create a room, make a title that will stand out amongst the sea of all the other titles. Because let's face it, there's a ton of content, there's a ton of rooms. So what makes your room different? And then the third thing I would suggest is really, as you build this room, remember that when you invite people up to the stage, think of that like oxygen for a fire. Anytime somebody's up on stage, it's like kindling for that fire. And you add more kindling, you get more of a chance that there's going to be a flame that sparks. And so obviously when you host a room, the first room might only have 3 or 4 people. And then the next room might have 5 or 6. But what you'll find is the more people you bring up on stage, the more people are notified that your room is happening. And so you want to make sure that you're in, it's like a party. So invite people to your party. So when people join the room, invite them up to the stage, have them talk, have them share. And you're the orchestrator of fun, of conversation, and be the host of the party that people want to go to. And so I think that's been my recipe for success, is I'm trying to be as inclusive as possible, welcoming people to the stage, encouraging conversation, giving people the microphone to share their ideas, their thoughts, their knowledge, and then creating a safe space for others to do the same.
Well, I definitely think as an audio-only platform, and in my experience, the more people you can get speaking on stage, the better. There is this fine point, though, where, for example, I invite a moderator, they're taking time out of their day. As a moderator, they want to make sure they're reaching new people. So there can be a point where maybe you have too many people on stage or you need to prioritize. But I think a great moderator, and I've seen you do this as well, Billy, as people bring up points, as people bring up questions, you identify the moderator on stage that's best equipped to answer that question.
Such a great point, Mark. Yeah. The way to think about this is know your moderator's superpower. Know what they're great at. Know what their knowledge is. And the way you know this is you get to know them over time. You hear how they respond. You read their bio. You know what they're all about. Not only do you read their bio, but maybe you go to their social media platforms. You read posts that they've put out. You watch videos they've done. You read articles they've written. All of these things. You look at their website and you get to know them. And then you meet with them off platform. You have a Zoom meeting with them where you get to know them. And over time, you really get to be able to point a spotlight on their brilliance. And so it's such a great point that, when you invite people to the stage, there's going to be moderators and then there's going to be speakers, all of whom can really do the same thing, which is speak. And the moderator has a few other things they can do, which is let people on and off the stage. But other than that, like, let's face it, there's no real difference between them. But when you have a moderator, there's an unspoken significance to that, where they are in some way presented as more equipped to answer questions or more equipped to provide insights. And
I think of it as vetted. They've kind of been vetted, they're trusted.
It's a good point. Yeah. Vetted in a way. And so when they're vetted, you need to be the person that knows, okay, if somebody asks a question about mental health, I'm going to ask my friend Nitty, who specializes in mental health, to answer that question. If somebody wants to know about public speaking, I'll have them talk to my friend Brendan. And so when you know all of these people, you could best identify the person who should speak.
Yeah. And I think that is a skill that is very underrated when it comes to moderators. Is or hosts of rooms is knowing who is best equipped to speak. Before we go into my next topic that I want to talk about, which is kind of resetting and keeping the flow of the room going, I want to talk a little bit more about getting people into your room, because the platform is starting to get very popular. More people are coming in. All the Android users are going to be coming in very soon as well. So we're going to see a lot of people coming to Clubhouse. Standing out matters. And when you look at platforms like YouTube, for example, your titles matter an immense amount in making sure that YouTube is actually showing your videos to the right people. Do you feel that there's a correlation with Clubhouse? Do you think that leveraging keywords in our titles, in our descriptions, will impact the way that Clubhouse shows our room to people?
Yes, but not in the same way. I think keywords matter because it tells people what it's about, but currently discoverability on the platform is really reliant on who you follow. So think about, there's two big levers. One is the title of the room. The other is who is in the room. And so for me, when I go through, and they call it the hallway, and I look at all the rooms, I'm looking who's in the room first, and then I look at the title. And if I like the people that are in the room and the title, then I'll go into the room. And so as a moderator, I think it's important to not only curate a group of speakers and moderators that will hopefully bring people and great thoughts, but also that you're creative with your title. I would say the first 20 characters of the title are most significant, because when you look on the what's called the sidebar, you're only going to see those first few words, like 2 to 3 words, depending on how long the words are. And when you really focus on those words, that's what's going to get people at least some visibility into what the room's about. But I do think title matters, especially as you pointed out, as the app becomes more popular, there's more people on it, there's more rooms, there's more competition. What's going to make your room stand out? And so it's those two factors.
Well, I really like that point, Billy, about being thoughtful with the first 20 characters, because you're right. Going to the sidebar is definitely a place where I'm looking for good rooms to join. I'm going to see, where are my friends, where are my family, what rooms are they in? Totally. Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Really, really good stuff. And listen, everyone out there, you definitely want to check out Billy at Podify.co. He's the founder of the company, and really his goal is to help you excel in the podcasting world. So let's shift back here to Clubhouse, Billy. Let's say that you've crafted a great room. You've brought in the right people. You have a clear title. You've been thoughtful about your first 20 characters. Now you've got 50 people in your room. Well, one of the most important things that a host needs to do is keep the flow of the conversation going. And one of the ways we do that is by resetting the room, or refreshing the room, depending which school of thought you're on. What are some key components, would you say, to make sure that you have a clean reset of the room?
Yeah, you bring up a great point. I think energy is super important, and having an awareness of what the energy is in your room at all times is critical. And part of that is, what you have to remember is the average person stays in a room for only 11 minutes. And so people are going to be coming and going, and new people to the room may not have a full grasp of what's being discussed. They may know the topic, but they may be unaware of what you're talking about, or what the intention is, or why you're doing the room, or who the moderators are. So what I suggest doing is, 1, brevity is important. Don't take too long doing the reset. 2, get creative with it. You might have somebody like, I often have Parker Kane do the reset. He's a beatboxer, and he does the reset in a beatbox, which is amazing. Now, you don't always have that ability, but get clever with it. Maybe there's a music component that you include in the reset. Do something to create a bit more life and energy into the room. So that's number 1. Number 2, give some credibility to the speakers on stage. So depending on how many speakers, if you have a few, then maybe you list a few of the accolades or accomplishments of your top speakers or moderators. If you have a whole bunch, then I think you could give a blanket statement about everybody, so you don't have to go one by one and introduce everybody. But there are longer resets where you can do that. And so that's number 2. And then number 3 is really state the intention of the room. Like, why are you there? What are you talking about? What is the reason the room was started, and what is being talked about? And then the 4th thing, and probably the most important thing, is set expectations. If you're limiting people to only talk for 60 seconds, make sure you state that. If you Make sure that you want everybody to use what we call the standby mic before they speak, which is like slowly tapping their microphone to signify that they want to speak. Then say that. Whatever it is that are the rules of engagement, make sure you're crystal clear as to what those are, so everyone in the room knows what's happening. And so those would be the 4 key things I would focus on for your reset.
Yeah, and one of the things I've noted that you do very well, Billy, is really praise the previous speaker that was speaking. And I feel like that gets people more juiced up and sharing more, because if I say something and the next person that's talking says, you know what, I don't really agree with that, that's going to be fine for some kind of rooms. But if you're trying to keep an open, lively discussion, that can kind of be a turnoff, I think, to speakers. The other thing that I find when resetting a room is there's a lot of different things that you want to say, right? Join my email newsletter, make sure you ping your friends. There's so many different things to say. I actually have a list. I have a list that I always keep on my desk when I'm resetting, and I kind of scroll through them, right? I'll use maybe 2 per reset. Do you have any thoughts, Billy, on how long it should take us to reset a room? 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes? What do you think?
It depends on frequency and room size. So if you have a really big room, then I would say you want to imagine this. Every single person in the room, for every minute, multiply that times the number of people in the room. That's how much time is being spent in your room. So if you have 5 people in the room, 5 times 1 minute, that's 5 minutes. But if you have 500, that's 500 minutes. So be really mindful of the amount of people, amount of time that you're taking in people's lives. So I would say the bigger the room, the more succinct you should be. And then the second piece is if you're doing them every 10 minutes, make them very short. If you're doing them every hour, you can make them longer. The other thing that I'll share is, to your point, I think there's so many things you can do in a reset, and so limit it to the things that matter most or that haven't been done. So maybe your room's just getting started and you remind people to tell their friends, and so you say ping them. Or maybe it's towards the end and you're doing a final reset and you want to highlight, and I'll do this now. So you mentioned room titles. So right now I'm working on a room title template with my partner, Kat. And I have another business we call Clubhouse Undercover. And so anybody that, that wants to get more information on Clubhouse, we have a title template that will allow you to create great titles. And so I may mention that in the reset. Say, hey, go to clubhouseundercover.com and we will give you a free template to create titles for your rooms. And so that's just a small thing, but I would be mindful of plugging too much. You don't want to over promote. I'm a big believer in promote others, not yourself. And so I always strive to shine a spotlight on other people, promote what they're doing. And I know law of reciprocation, the reciprocal nature of life, they'll promote me as well.
No. I mean, certainly there's nothing better than being referred by a friend. It's that classic word of mouth thing. The other thing I think that happens if you're plugging too much is it becomes confusing. Am I supposed to go to his YouTube channel? Oh, wait, no, it's his email newsletter. Oh, wait, no.
Right.
I think, but if you're consistent with what you're talking about, I think it ingrains. I forgot who said this, but people don't remember something until they've heard it 7 times. I can't remember who said that, but just I think being repetitious through the beginning to end can work to your benefit. Another thing that's happened, Billy, that I'm actually quite excited about, it's kind of making me reframe the way that I look at Clubhouse. Clubhouse monetization. It's here. It's out there. You can connect your Stripe account and you can start cashing in on all your followers. Ooh, that influencer money. So Billy, tell me. Clubhouse monetization, overrated, underrated?
Good question. I would say overrated for what we have today, underrated for what it will be in the long term. And what I mean by that is right now we have what's really effectively a tipping feature where you can tip somebody for doing great work, which, let's face it, culturally, tipping in some parts of the world is not really common. And so I think that's something to be aware of. But what I do think will happen long term is the ability to monetize clubs and the ability to create subscriptions to rooms or clubs. And I think that could be very interesting. So if you can put something behind a paywall and people really crave and love your content and they pay $4 a month, $7 a month, you're effectively creating your own mini Netflix. And that's really exciting. So I think long-term, people are not necessarily thinking about the implications of monetization in a way that I think they will eventually. And then short-term, I think they're getting excited for something that's probably not going to give them a whole lot. I think some people are going to make a lot on tips, but the vast majority of people won't realize serious revenue because of tips.
I could also see it as you're starting to see a lot of big events being held on Clubhouse. I could see it as being, hey, you can be in the VIP section or you can be down here. You can have a chance to speak on stage or you can be in the back. There's a lot of interesting things that can come from the monetization. To your point, do you want exclusive access to an event so there's a lot of different things I think that'll roll out that I'm excited about there. Recording. We got to talk about recording, Billy, because a lot of people on Clubhouse are saying these are some amazing conversations. I'm getting so much great information, so much knowledge, but it's gone. It's here today, gone tomorrow. Is Clubhouse going to give us a recording feature so we can actually remember and save this stuff for posterity?
They will. Yeah, I have a very strong feeling that will be something super valuable. And as a podcaster like you, let's face it, we can realize so much more from our content if we record it. Now, people do record today, but I think the question isn't if we can record or if it will be a feature. It's really how we create the structure around the experiences that we create. Because I'm still foggy on what success will look like when we record on Clubhouse, because it is an interactive platform by nature. I was just having this question. I just interviewed Chris Do, and we had a 20-minute conversation about this. We're actually going to do a room on this. And one of the things that stands out is from our conversation, but just generally is do we feel like we are obligated to bring people up to the stage? Because I'll be blunt about this. I do a lot of research for the people that I interview, and to open it up to anybody to ask questions that maybe don't even know this person. They just want to hear themselves talk. Is that the person who should be asking the question, or should it be somebody that's done the research? So it's finding that balance between having more of a Q&A or more social interaction versus being able to interview somebody in a more intimate fashion. And so what Chris said, which I think is a really interesting point, is he believes that the appeal of Clubhouse is the live component of it. That's the exciting part of it, that it's live and it's happening real time. And that, yes, it's interesting that you can have the back and forth conversation, but number one is that it's live. And so his suggestion to me is maybe considering doing a show where I interview, celebrities and famous people and do it on Clubhouse. And so I may explore that. I don't know what the right answer is. I know that John has a room called for creators, and I forget his last name, but he's interviewed some really successful people, some noteworthy people, and he does it more of an experience where there's music act, there's a Q&A, there's an interview, and there's something that, I don't know if have you attended that one, the Creators series?
I'm not sure that I have. I've been in a few rooms that have implemented music, which is another really cool, I think, strategy to rooms as well.
Yeah. No, and again, I think it's about experimenting, testing, see what works, see what doesn't. Be fluid. Don't be too rigid. Understand that it's a brand new platform and everyone has the ability to shine on the platform. Don't think you're too late. Even if you're just getting started today on the platform, it's still early days. I mean, this is the very beginning of what I would consider a movement and a really, really important, not just a shift in social media, but a shift in humanity. The fact that we can connect with people using the voice in a very intimate way, that's so powerful, man. I mean, I just think we don't know what we don't know. The possibilities are endless. And so if you're just getting started today, take it seriously going forward. Or maybe you haven't been taking it seriously and you're hearing this, you're like, maybe I should start taking it more seriously. Yes, I think you should. And recognize that every minute you spent on the platform is a learning opportunity for you to grow and keep adjusting as you learn more.
Well, the learning is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I cannot tell you how much I've learned just sitting in rooms. The access, like for me to be able to sit in a room for 20 minutes and talk to Roberto Blake and ask him how I can improve my YouTube channel, that's unheard of. I mean, I could tell you story after story. I know a young kid who actually got a job with Mr. Beast, working for Mr. Beast on YouTube. Like it's unprecedented. Through Clubhouse, yeah. Mr. Beast was in a small room with just a few people. This is when it was very new. He just jumped in, they started talking, and he got a job, which is
amazing. So many opportunities.
There really are. There really are. It's just a really, really great place to be. So before I let you go here, Billy, I just definitely want to encourage everyone. You definitely want to find Billy on Clubhouse. He is still hosting some of the most fantastically run rooms on the platform. Great content all the time, especially if you're into podcasting, digital media. He's the man to see. And then Podify.co is the website where you can get more information on how to excel in an audio age. But Billy, before I let you go, we got to get through the overrated, underrated section. I gave you a little sneak peek, but I got a few more good overrated, underrated questions. You ready to rock?
Let's do this.
All right, let's go. Okay. Overrated, underrated Zoom meetings.
Oh man. Overrated.
Okay. Overrated, underrated Elon Musk.
Overrated.
Overrated, underrated Twitter Spaces, the competitor to Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces.
I haven't even explored it, so I can't answer it, but I'll just say it's probably underrated, most likely.
I would agree with that. I haven't even tried it yet because I'm so into Clubhouse now. Overrated, underrated Audible.
Underrated.
Overrated, underrated YouTube Shorts.
Underrated.
So we got a lot of underrateds here. Billy's got an optimistic future for y'all. Listen, final question here for you, Billy. If you had 10 seconds with yourself 10 years ago, what would you tell Billy?
10 seconds with myself, I would say, don't sell your Tesla stock.
Wise words of wisdom. Buy more Dogecoin. Don't sell the stock. All right. Billy Samoa, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much, Mark. It's great.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. I've got several other episodes right here for you. Smash one of these videos to make sure that you don't miss out on the tips, tools, and tactics of industry experts. Let's take that side hustle full time. Smash one of these links.